Today I want to take you on a journey with me as I transform this space into this. Now this might not look like much, that's because it isn't yet, and while taking you on the transformation journey with me was my original intention for this video, it has since devolved into what I'm optimistically referring to as a vlog, but in reality is probably going to be more of a rant. So I guess now is your chance to hit the back button if you don't want to be subject to that. Anyway, while I am going to be part ranting, part explaining, I will be working on my forever blanket. I have neglected that for a little bit, and at this point I have some yarn that I would like to add to it. Most of which at this point is the yarn cakes that I did have in my background at one point. I've saved a few of them just in case I want them for decorative purposes, but the rest of them, because there's not really enough to make like a large project, which is kind of my wheelhouse at the moment, I'm just going to use them up on my forever blanket. I think that is appropriate. It's kind of a memory, a moment in time that I want to capture in my blanket. So hopefully I won't struggle too much crocheting while speaking. History suggests otherwise though. But back to the topic at hand. Originally this video was supposed to be, as I said, like a transformation video. I wanted to change this space. But before we get to the end, or rather where we are presently, I think it's best to go back to the beginning. And the start takes us all the way back to towards the end of 2025 last year. We're like, 2 minutes in and I'm already struggling crocheting and talking at the same time. But practice makes perfect, so I'm going to continue. So anyway, at that time I started to notice a deterioration of like my pain, some of my health conditions, and to try and like accommodate that or combat that, my solution at the time was to get myself a new stool. The old one I'd been using, it was never very good, but it was what we had here, and didn't want to buy a new stool at that point when I started using it. So I figured I would make do for now. And at the end of last year, I could no longer make do. Hang on. False alarm. I thought we got tangled there for a sec. But for that reason, I went out and bought myself a new stool, which in hindsight was not a good idea, because at the same time as I was considering buying that new stool, I was also considering just doing what you see here, just skipping the stool entirely and going straight for some sort of couch situation. I didn't end up going that route then, because exchanging one stool for another is a lot easier than moving all the stuff that was like already in my background, getting in a couch, assembling a couch, making that fit, having to shift probably all the other furniture to make everything work. At that point, I was like, yeah, it's easier just to go with the stool. So that is what I did. And I hope to get, maybe a year or so use out of it. And then when it was no longer tenable, then I would swap to the couch. Looking back on my decision now, in hindsight, I should have just gone like straight to the couch, because that stool, it was a bit of a nightmare, to be honest. And that kind of segues into sort of the thesis of my rant, is that everything just feels shit now. Enshittification has just gotten its greasy little tentacles into everything. So it started with that original stool. Now, while I did say it started back in 2025 with that new stool I purchased, like the truth is I, and probably you, have been noticing like this phenomenon for a while now. I've just been struck by the realization that I'm sitting here ranting about a stool. But anyway, back to the stool. I think what made this situation more frustrating for me, and not just that stool, but what followed, is that I haven't shopped for new furniture in a very long time. Like all our furniture, not just in this room, but throughout the house, is majority secondhand. It's either been inherited, we bought it secondhand from like eBay, op shops, or it's been like handmade. When my grandpa, he passed away almost exactly a year ago as of filming this, but when he retired, he got really into woodworking. And he made some like beautiful pieces. He made desks and bookshelves, dressers, cabinets of drawers, just plain old cabinets of all shapes and sizes, a lot of which they've got to be going on like 20 or 30 years old by now, and we still use them because they're good, solid pieces. So I mention all that to illustrate just how unprepared I was for new furniture shopping in the era of like 2025, 2026. And so when I was purchasing this original stool, I did all the things that I thought you were supposed to do, like make comparisons, look up independent reviews, all that good stuff. But none of that mattered because in the end, the stool was a nightmare. It started falling apart within a month of using it. The horrible like pleather material was splitting, it was cracking, it was like flaking off. The backrest, which is like supposed to support your weight, if I actually leant on that backrest, the metal framing would bend. So I don't know if anyone would notice, but in a couple of my videos, you can see you could see the backrest pressed up against the cube shelves I had here. And I had to do that because otherwise, the thing would just keep bending backwards. And then like the gas lift of the seat itself was incredibly janky. Like you'd have to jostle it to try and get smooth. It was horrible. So that put a real sour taste in my mouth. And I didn't go for like the cheapest option. I tried to get something that was of decent quality without paying too much. Like I cannot afford to spend, I think it was $600-700 on what was supposedly a good quality like salon chair or stool. So I ended up with what turned out to be a useless pile of crap. Despite all that, I said to myself, you know what, you have it now, let's try and get some use out of it so it's not a complete waste of money. And I had every intention of doing that. But then my health conditions kept deteriorating further, and it got to the stage where I was like, this is no longer tenable. I cannot do this. Every time I sat at that stool for longer than like 15 minutes, I would end up being in like horrific amounts of pain, more than normal. So that was the point. I was like, yeah, this has to go. And that's when I started intentionally searching for a couch. I had been looking since that 2025 period when I originally had the idea to change my background. I had been looking on eBay. Whenever I went out to the op shops, I'd have a look there. I kept my feelers out in case any friends or family were like getting rid of one of their old couches. But like nothing ever came of that. So when I reached the point where like that stool was no longer useful, I had to acknowledge that I'm probably going to have to buy this new. And that then led me to the idea of sort of documenting my progress and making a bit of a transformation video. I thought that might have been a nice change, something I haven't really done on the channel before, I don't think. But in the end, obviously, that didn't happen. All right. Oh, okay. Brief interruption there, and I can't quite remember where I was up to in the story. I think I was talking about searching for the couch. So forgive me if there's a little bit of a overlap here, if I repeat myself. So I started intentionally searching for a couch, and I was determined to sort of like take my time and not make the same mistakes I did with the stool. Although I don't know if I actually made mistakes there. I thought I did everything that I could to, try and suss out that I was getting a stool that was at least okay. But anyway, I was determined, not to have the same thing happen. But then if you saw, I think it was my last video that I made where I did the diamond art painting, my desk broke. One of the hinges snapped clean in half. Another yanked the screws right out of the wood. And I tried, I watched as my sister tried putting it back together. But the wood on that side of the desk, it wasn't salvageable. I mean, it was just like shitty chipboard stuff anyway. And that forced my hand. So I really had to put my nose to the grindstone and, get something done. Which in my case meant I spent like a solid week trying to go like detective mode and suss out like what were the best couches that would like suit my needs. And like this is where my rant about sort of enshittification was really born, because as I mentioned before, like shopping for new furniture, not something I've done in a minute. Like I was not prepared for kind of like the deluge of low quality slop. I run into like so much AI advertising supposedly real products. There was real products across multiple websites, but they all use the exact same picture and description. And like that just makes me a little bit sus. There may not be anything nefarious to it, but it makes me sus. And the thing is, there are certain companies, I'm not going to mention any of them like just in case, but there's certain companies in Australia that they're associated with like budget friendly furniture, and that's where you would normally go if you can't afford to spend like $4,000 on a couch. But heading back to those companies, those websites for the first time in however many years, even what is deemed like the cheap and nasty stuff is not cheap anymore. From what I learned, mostly from like independent, or well, at least what I think are independent reviews, the nasty description is still apt, but they're no longer cheap. It's utterly ridiculous paying hundreds of dollars for something that's almost guaranteed to fall apart mere moments after you put it together. But I was in a tough position. I was stuck. I could no longer sit at a stool. It was too painful. I needed something to replace it. So I had to choose a product. Eventually, I found a couch that I quite liked. It seemed okay from the reviews. It was reasonably priced. And after kind of fruitlessly searching for something better, I decided to like bite the bullet and just go ahead and buy it. Oh boy. Then I added the bloody thing to my cart. The postage was almost $400. The postage was more than half of what the couch itself was selling for. And I was like, no, absolutely not. I expect to, pay something for postage when you're shipping something as, large and cumbersome as furniture. Like, I don't expect some sort of, next day free delivery Amazon nonsense. No. But postage that is worth more than half of the product itself, just no, that's insanity to me. There was the option of like changing postcode so I could get it theoretically sent to someone else's house and then organized to have it dropped off here. I mean, that's a whole other burden in and of itself, but if it saves you like $400 in postage, maybe it's worth the effort. But even changing the postcode, I think the cheapest the delivery got down to was about $320, which was still like more than half of what the couch is worth. In spite of the fact that I needed a couch, I kind of liked the one that I came across. I was like, no, I'm not paying that much in postage. What I did do then, and this will be relevant in a bit, but what I did do then was go to the website for one of the other couches that I was considering. And just for interest's sake, I popped that couch that I was considering into the cart just to compare the postage costs. And this one came out at $20. And I'm like, yeah, okay, that's reasonable. I don't mind paying $20 postage. For a couch, I'd probably even pay a little bit more than that. But what had put me off, that couch that I just popped into my cart originally was that it was still full price. And it was just like a little bit too much. It was beyond my budget. However, as of filming this, we are in June, and here in Australia, that is like the end of financial year. And at this time of year, a lot of companies have end of financial year sales. So I thought to myself, okay, we'll put a pause on couch purchasing for now and give it a week or so. And this particular website may end up having an end of financial year sale, which they did. And so I went to the website again. Yes, the couch was discounted by a fairly significant amount. I'm like, okay, it's within my budget now. Let's purchase it. And this is the couch here. Let me... Ta-da. And this is where my annoyance, ratcheted up another level. I put the couch in my cart again, went to check out. The postage was now $70. Now, I am not accusing that website of anything. Correlation doesn't equal causation and all that. But I am highly suspicious of the fact that only, I think it was 4 or 5 days prior, I checked the price of the postage for the couch. It was $20. The couch then goes on sale, and the postage is somehow $50 more expensive. I don't know. As I said, not making accusations, not doing it, but I am side-eyeing that company just a little bit. As I said before, though, I was kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. I needed something, and there were so few options that fit my sizing requirements. Honestly, there were so few options in general. Why is so much furniture just bland and boring? Most of the couches I came across, you get 2 color options. You get 3 color options. You get a light neutral, so either beige or white. You get light grey, you get dark grey. If you're lucky, you might come across a forest green or a nice deep blue. And for the record, I didn't end up going with a blue couch because I thought, well, I didn't like any of the designs to begin with, but I thought it would just be a bit too much blue. I like myself a bit of blue, but you can't have too much of a good thing. But it just sort of struck me as I was perusing the internet for couches. Just everything is so similar. It is bland, it is boring, a lot of it is cheap and nasty, and I'm just sick of it, to be honest. I'm sick of the Enshittification of everything. That is one of the big reasons why, my social media usage tapered off. It started a couple of years ago. I just gradually stopped using Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, because all it would be AI generated slop. I mean, slop is the best word for it. Or I would see content creators doing undisclosed ads. Clearly these videos were some sort of promotion, but they wouldn't be disclosed. And there's a bunch of other stuff, but I don't need to get into that. I mean, this video is supposed to be, the thrilling story of a couch. But yeah, I gradually stopped using social media. I actually hopped back on Pinterest several weeks ago now for the first time in, I'd say, maybe 18 months to 2 years. And I even specifically went into my settings to turn off visible AI stuff. I can't quite remember what the setting is off the top of my head, but there is one in which you supposedly can fill out AI bullshit, but that didn't work. Virtually my entire feed, virtually all of it, it was just crochet AI bullshit. And I don't want to see that. And so I've gone back to not using it, which is disappointing. And the same applies for other social media apps too. I like seeing what other people have created. I like watching reels or, short form videos of their art. But it becomes harder and harder to enjoy when it's interspersed with just rubbish. And that is in no way the fault of the creators themselves. They can't help that their platforms have been inundated with garbage, but it does, well, for me, it's put me off entirely. And I think, unfortunately, YouTube is going down a similar path. Not too long ago, I was sitting with my niece while she was, having her few minutes of iPad time. And what I saw on there, genuinely makes me concerned for, the cognitive development of kids. I'm half laughing here, but no, it's genuinely concerning, especially with the rise of LLMs and other generative AI. I am deeply concerned. I am very annoyed and frustrated, and just a combination of all the things I've mentioned today just made me want to do a rant video. And I'm hoping it will go over okay, because I know for a fact that there are people out there who share in my irritation, because we've had discussions about it. But to end, or to bring this round to a more optimistic, positive conclusion, I've spent quite a bit of time just trying to think, how do we combat this? I don't know that we can, to be honest. This is supposed to be the optimistic part, Lee. What are you doing? But realistically, I don't know that we can. But I sort of come to the conclusion for myself that the best thing that I can do, my small way of going against this enshittification tide, is to continue doing what I'm doing. I am going to keep doing what I love, making projects slowly, stitch by stitch, and start to finish. The entire process, for better or worse, is going to be entirely directed by me and my creative choices. Is that going to get me instant gratification? Absolutely not. In fact, with some of my projects, you reach the end and you don't even get slow gratification. You reach the end of a project and you're like, well, that wasn't worth 3 months of my life. But that in itself, I think, is just a part of the journey. So that is what I'm going to just continue to focus on. Just keep doing what I'm doing. Make my YouTube videos, which I thoroughly enjoy doing. It's such a great outlet for me, as a person who lives with a disability and chronic pain. I cannot understate just how much of a positive impact it's had on my life, especially when I can get be very isolated, because going out and doing things is such a struggle sometimes. But yeah, that is my takeaway from this video. Perhaps you out there might have other ideas, how are you personally going to combat the AI invasion? Do you think it's possible? Are we all still hoping for the AI bubble to burst? Well, that's going to bring the rant portion of the video to an end. I apologize if it was a bit rambly. I don't write scripts for any of my videos. I think I tried that once way back when I did my very first face cam video. It did not work so well for me. I find I come across as far too wooden and stilted. It very much seems like I am reading off a script. So I've never written scripts for my videos, even though I think sometimes maybe I should, so I don't ramble quite so much. I think the most I ever do is, if there is specific information that I need to convey, I will write dot points so I don't forget any of it. But I think if I wrote a script, I'd risk coming off as I don't know quite the right word. Not insincere. I wouldn't be insincere because I'm not gonna like lie while writing a script. But I don't know. Maybe just less me. I don't know. Not really sure how to phrase that one, but I don't think it would come across quite the same. And I'm happy doing what I'm doing at the moment. So what I thought I would do is just finish this video out by, well, showing you some of the footage I took from what was originally supposed to be the transformation video, because I did take some footage, but one of the big reasons why I changed course is, well, A, because I needed to vent. I was just like so annoyed and got progressively more annoyed as the couch saga continued on, and you all get to be my wailing wall. But also when my desk broke and we had to move it, I took my lighting with it because my lights were attached to the desk. And the day we started moving stuff and all the following days over which we continued moving stuff, the wintry, dreary weather outside was not conducive to good natural light filtering in through my window, and all the footage just would have been dark. I even tried cranking up the ISO on my camera, but even that helped a little bit, but it wouldn't have been great quality footage. So in the end I was like, look, we just need to get this area done. I'm not going to worry about doing a video on it. So while we're not obviously doing the transformation video here today, I think there is still the opportunity to make one, because if you've noticed, my background and stuff is a little bit chaotic. Nothing is sort of in its permanent place at the moment because I do still want to continue to make changes. So something that bothers me so much is that my couch and my pegboard here, they're not aligned. The center, because I have this cabinet here, can you even see? Yeah, cabinet here now. The couch was pushed to the left a little bit, and the center of it does not align with the pegboard, and it drives me mad. Is it a big deal? No, but it still bothers me. Oh, so I keep moving all over the place to stretch, so this video is probably going to be me here, then me here, me here. So apologies for that too. But I want to figure out just something to do for this background. Even go with a big change. I was considering removing the pegboard entirely from this point and maybe, I don't know, putting it on this wall here. I don't know. I don't know yet. I've been collecting big cardboard sheets where I can, and I was even thinking of putting them on the wall with just blue tack or something, but somehow layering something on them to create an entirely new background, so I don't have to worry about painting or ruining the walls in any way. And then there's the matter of what I'd put on the walls. I've still got off to the side here, there's my, if I can grab it, my canvas art things I've made. I'd like to include some of them. I've just really been grabbing out anything that I could make use of, possibly. For example, there's an old picture frame. My dad made this just out of old fence palings, and I thought I like the look of the wood. You wouldn't know it from my background that I've had for years. I'm actually a huge fan of dark woods. What would it be in internet aesthetic? Maybe dark academia crossed with maybe a bit of hobbitcore or something like that. But I really like that aesthetic. But the white was the furniture that we had, so the white is what I used. But yeah, I actually really like the woods, particularly any sort of dark stained wood. So I thought maybe this was a good way to get some of that in my background. And with this one, I thought maybe I could, get rid of the glass, I don't need that, but create or crochet a swatch of mesh stitches, and then I would use that to put some of my amigurumi in, kind of some of those toy holders you see for kids. That might look okay as a display. Another thing I had in mind was, I'm pretty sure I've got a corkboard kicking around somewhere, and that might be, you know, something different I could include in my background. I could stick yarn labels, sketches from projects, just little odds and sods like that. I can stick those or pin those on there. Maybe add some sort of shelving, because I do want to like display some of my amigurumi. They're all a bit higgledy-piggledy at the moment. They're everywhere, and it certainly doesn't help that a certain ferret who will not be named likes getting up here and knocking all of them askew. So I would like to keep some of them out of her reach. But yeah, this is going to be a work in progress, and once I've done this wall, I'd honestly like to do the same to this wall over here, because at the moment, and well, for a while, it's just been the acoustic panels up there, and yes, they work well for improving sound quality, but they're bloody ugly, so I would like to change that out for something else. Hopefully once I finally finish my big dragon skeleton project that I'm still working on it. It is very much a background project, but it does get worked on every so often. But once I'm finished with that, I think that could serve as a great soundproofing instrument, so that might go there. I have a lot of things that I would like to accomplish, most of which I can't really do by myself. So that's something that I need to do. I need to give a huge shout out to my sister, because she helped with all of this. It just wouldn't have been possible without her, because I couldn't do it by myself. So absolutely fantastic job. 2 thumbs up to her. So yeah, any changes that I do want to make, I'm probably going to have to run by her first, but she has yet to say no to any one of my batshit schemes, so I'm sure she will be on board. If you guys have any suggestions for things you'd like to see, ways I could transform this background, please pop them down in the comments, because I will take them all on board. I think that's going to be where I leave it for today. And also, there won't be a hookup this week, just because we have been moving a lot of stuff. I mean, you guys can't see it, but you know how I used to have the desk here, right? Well, the side that got broken or broke is no longer usable for obvious reasons. So we've kind of incorporated it and the right side, which was still functional, over there. But we've incorporated it as part of my PC desk, as well as a desk that my dad made. And it's kind of like a Frankenstein's monster of an L-shaped desk. It's actually, I think it looks and functions really well. So when I do crochet at the desk, that's where you'll be seeing me. Everything's going to be strange for a while, because I have to get used to this new setup, but I think in the long run, it's actually going to serve me better than what I had previously. But, before I got sidetracked and distracted, what I was saying is my laptop, in which I'm signed into the hookup account, that is the word, account, is currently under a pile of crap. I had to just chuck everything over there, and I didn't realize my laptop was on the bottom. So rather than try and salvage it from the bottom of the pile, I'm just going to skip the hookup this week, and that will be back in my next video, so I'm not done with the hookup yet. And with that explanation, I suppose all that's left to say is thank you for watching. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. Like the video if you enjoyed it, share it if you think it's worth sharing, and I will see you in the next one, which, if everything goes according to plan, will be another big amigurumi video.